See, because I think that people think that if they get involved and they support some of the folks in the bureaucracy, or they support initiatives in the bureaucracy that have had some spotty success, then they're doing good work. See, I think we need to shake this whole thing up. I mean, I really do. And I think that we need courage to do that. You know, and I'm so proud of the fact that in my party, Democratic Party, which has been really a holdup in terms of reform, that we are now having folks stand up in our party, several big city mayors, because they live with this every day. You know, we can't continue with the negative outputs in our cities. And so, yeah, I think we have to support education, but we have to get knowledgeable enough about what's really going on so we can be conversant on it. And then secondly, we have to have the courage of our convictions to speak out against the status quo. And that's where the union has the biggest stranglehold. I've spoken, have private dinners with the Missouri Black Caucus, with the Georgia Black Caucus, South Carolina Black Caucus, legislators all over the country. And you know, at every one of those opportunities where I speak, there's 2 or 3 people who won't say anything, and when it's over, they pull me aside. They say, "Man, I like what you're doing. I just can't do it because, you know, I'm up for re-election, and they'll come after me, and you just keep doing what you're doing." You know, and I tell you, I'm not a violent person, physically violent, but it tests every fiber in my being not to get violent when I hear that, because, you know, if you are a leader and you hold yourself out as a leader of the people, then you need to speak with a courageous tongue on this issue. And one thing you all can do if you have access is you shouldn't support anyone who is weak back on this issue. And it's just that simple. I don't know who's next. I'm sorry. Oh, back here. I'm sorry.
What are the dangers of leaving education entirely in the private sector?
Well, I don't believe it's an either-or proposition. See, there are people like, my first book was on charter schools, and so people know me as a charter guy. And then they said, "Well, you're a charter guy. Why'd you come out for vouchers?" Again, I look at it purely. Look at what's best for kids. See, I think that my dream world is that you have, just like the serving tray in a buffet, you have a variety of options for parents. Some may like chicken fried steak, some may like ravioli. And plus, in today's ever-changing global society, you know, kids respond to different learning modalities. So I wouldn't say everybody has to be in a private school, because, you know, that's like fitting a circle in a square for some folks. See, we have to just, our responsibility is to make education fun and to have these kids like sponges that soak it all in, and to meet these kids where they are. So, no, I think the dangers of having any one system be the predominant system or the only system is it cuts out a whole lot of opportunities for other people who may not respond well to that system to be able to learn. So I really like the idea of just spreading it around. The worst thing in the world is to have a government monopoly. You wouldn't have an iPhone if Judge Harold Green didn't break up Ma Bell back in the 80s. You know, funny story about that. I was a young trial lawyer in the federal court in D.C. I was trying a case. Judge Harold Green was in the middle of breaking up the Bell systems. And during the breaking our trial, he had all these team of lawyers, about 30 lawyers, come up at a bench conference. And then he called us in the back in his chambers. And he said, "I shouldn't be talking about this, you know, but I am," because Judge Green was pretty irascible guy. And he said, "You know, these Bell phone company lawyers, they drive me crazy." He said, "I know I'm going to get a lot of heat, but I'm breaking this thing up." He said, "Do you know they have things like they call caller ID, and they got like video or picture phones? They've had this technology for 20 years, but they're waiting for the right time to roll it out." This was back in the 80s. He said, "You know," he said, I don't know much about business, but I know one thing: unless we get competition out there, it's going to stifle innovation." And, you know, that's the same thing that's happened with our traditional approach to schooling kids. It stifles the innovation at a time we need for it to grow. Just a couple more, I guess. You have one, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my name is Len Tenges. I'm president of Associate General Contractors of St. Louis. We started a charter high school for the construction.
Yes, I know about your school.
In St. Louis.
That's right.
And I guess my message to the people here is I look at that charter movement like I look at a health club. Sending in your money to the health club doesn't make you healthy. You've got to work the machines.
That's right.
You've got to work hard. You've got to work at it.
I'm going to use that, by the way.
Consistently.
Should I quote you? I need your name.
But I think that's what happens is people sit through a lunch like this, get fired up and walk away. And as you said, it takes daily dedication. Go to your industry association, go to your industry group. You're not going to do it by yourself.
Right.
You've got to work collectively,
absolutely
collaboratively, but if you don't do it, we see where we end up.
Yep.
So I appreciate the comment.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
How do you see Teach for America fitting in?
Yeah, I think they're terrific. I really like, I know Wendy Kopp, who started it, and our school chancellor was a Teach for America alum. You know, I think it's, one thing I see the young people over here, well, young people over here, I don't want to.
Very good.
I'm sorry. Yeah, right. I see these young folks surround me. But what's real exciting is I read something very interesting that this generation of young people under the age of 35 are the most volunteer-oriented generation in American history. They give more of their time, they're more cause-oriented than at any other time. The only comparable time was during the Peace Corps and John Kennedy, but this generation trumps that. And we are seeing, and Wendy's talked about this in Teach for America, and some of these enterprising young charter school operators, you have more and more of our best and brightest being drawn to teaching. Now, why should we have crazy work rules that tell them they can't stay after school to help a kid learn? You know, this is the time when we should just throw these rules out, because you've got the best kids in America who are interested in helping their fellow man. You know, and this is a time to let that continue to grow. And I just think what Teach for America is doing, New Leaders for New Schools, New Teacher Project, all these folks are doing good stuff. Yes, sir.
You mentioned vouchers.
Yes.
You really expanded and talked much about that. But you also mentioned choices.
Yes.
Choices would include private schools and in-home tutoring.
Right, that's right.
But is vouchers the method to open up or expand these choices?
I think that what we found in D.C., because as far as the union is concerned, vouchers is the nuclear bomb. That's radioactive. I mean, you know, so if you have vouchers, then they feel like, okay, we've lost this beachhead, you know. And so I like the idea of, I support all forms of choice. The fastest growing form of choice is homeschooling, which is a direct statement about the condition of our schools. When parents say, I'm just going to do it myself. And if they have any wherewithal, they do it. But, you know, while vouchers are a target and, you know, people rail against Dr. Friedman and the free market thinking, I think it's the perfect vehicle to highlight the hypocrisy. You know, I mean, because it speaks to all the things that we should be speaking to in terms of competition, allowing innovation to dictate our approach, and those kinds of things. So again, I don't promote one over the other because it's an individual choice. It's far be it for me to tell a parent where they should put their child. But what I can say is, parent, we need to give you options for you to choose for your child, which is what I think, unfortunately, too few public officials are willing to do. Oh, is that it, Rex?
Take one more.
One more, yeah, because he's got a heck of a hook.